Welcome back to the Weekend Report. I'm Masachaba Mphoswa. Diplomatic Ties is a novel about a young diplomat in Brussels. Mbali Langa finds herself at a crossroads when she has to navigate a tricky relationship and her ambitions while carrying secrets and facing betrayal. She navigates all that while having to fulfill her family's expectations in Mamelodi. The narrator explores themes of love, of ambition, of betrayal, and draws inspiration from author Mpho Boshego, who also worked as a diplomat in Brussels. And she joins us now in studio to tell us more about that. Mpho, thank you so much for your time and for this book. Welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Chawa. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you.
And now, Diplomatic Ties explores themes of power, of politics, and personal integrity. What inspired you to explore these themes in fiction?
Yeah, so as you said, that, part of the book, like the setting, I was a diplomat myself. But, there was a time when I wanted to explore more the concept of survival. So I felt that myself, including some of my friends and the people that I've spoken to, we were like in this mode of survivalism, always trying to find new things. What's the next thing to do? We never took time to like calm down and find the voice inside of ourselves, to help us navigate this life. It was always about, what somebody else thinks is the best thing to do. What's the, getting a promotion, getting a new job, having a relationship. So I just wanted to kind of like use fiction to explore these concepts that we all go through on a day-to-day basis.
And how much of the story was influenced by real diplomatic dynamics? And I'm certain anyone who's read this book is probably curious, how much of the story is your story?
That is true. So when it comes to the setting of the book, that is pretty much my experiences, because I was a diplomat myself at some point from 2007 until 2011. So I was posted to Brussels. So the setting with regards to working in the Department of Foreign Affairs, then being posted, to Brussels, working in an embassy, that is pretty much part of my experiences. However, the plot, so the storyline about this young woman who has to navigate life, of contrast, so to speak, coming from Mamelodi, living in Pretoria, and then having to move to this cosmopolitan city of Brussels, and the different work dynamics, being at head office and being an embassy, so the storyline was basically just around trying to explore this concept of, what will happen to a young person when they are put in situations where they haven't yet found their voice, they haven't yet found their feet, and everybody else is coming at them to say, this is the best thing to do, this is where you need to go. And they're just trying to kind of like put her in this mess just to see how she will survive all of that.
And speaking of mess, I mean, your protagonist is both ambitious and morally conflicted as well, which I'm certain readers will find quite relatable, right? So, I mean, how did you approach developing such a layered or even layered characters in the book?
I think what was important for me was to understand that as people, we are quite layered. We're not one-dimensional at all. So I wanted to create a character that has almost kind of like this vertical growth, to show that you can make mistakes, choose things that don't serve you. However, as part of your growth trajectory, you can actually, come into yourself and start to see life differently and choose differently and have like a different perspective on life. So I wanted to show that in all our messiness, in all the different choices that we make, we still are perfect human beings, in all of that. Like, so there is no right or wrong, black or white. We always just live in this gray area all the time. Yeah.
Now, which character was the most challenging for you and why?
Yes, okay. I think the most challenging character was probably, I think the main character herself. And I think that is because I wanted her to really be seen. And I wanted her to be authentic and to feel real. And I also wrote her in the first, like a first person, point of view, first person point of view, because I wanted to get into her emotional space, into her head space. So that is quite difficult, because what you do is you almost kind of like try to embody this person. Right. So at some points I've had to like remember like a painful situation so that I can write a chapter that, needed this person to show how they really felt.
This is what I was actually quite curious about, because
Yeah.
this book is both political but also very deeply emotional.
Correct.
How did you manage to strike that balance in your writing?
Yes, so I think actually the political part was quite simple, because you will see like some of the settings are based on things that have happened before, and also because I've had that experience myself being in Brussels. It was easier to remember certain experiences. However, the emotional touch points, those were the hard ones, but those were like the real parts of the book, because even though we can talk about like an ambassador, for example, or like a politician, they're people at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And it was very important to me to show that we see people in various spaces, like at work, on television, wherever, they occupy like an office, but they still are people, and people are emotional beings, and they go through things.
Sure.
So the emotional part was probably the hardest part, but the political stuff, no, not that
Much easier.
much easier.
So every book has its own journey, right?
Yes.
Behind it.
Correct.
What was your journey, and what parts of this journey did you find most challenging, and which parts did you find most rewarding?
Oh, wow. So I started writing this book when I was on a posting those many years ago. And that was because before I left, I went to the bookstore and I was looking for a book that was about someone's lived experience as a diplomat. And I couldn't find that. And I fast forward, I think a couple of months later, I was reading on the author, Toni Morrison. And she has a quote that says, if there's a story that you want to read and you have not found that yet, write it yourself. And I thought, well, I could write the book. I mean,
love that.
I'm good. I can, I'm a writer, like for work and stuff. I was like, yeah, I could write a book. So that's how the journey started. And so it took a bit of time, because at some point I did shelve it, just to go through my own life and do other things. But in terms of the entire journey, from that beginning to where we are today, I would liken it to what my friend said to me one time about her brother who runs the Comrades. And she says her brother told her that running the Comrades is similar to, like every single emotional, like emotion that a human being can go through.
Yeah.
Like you go through that.
Right.
So you start off and you think, well, I'm excited, I can do this. And then, you go like a couple of hours or days in my case, and then you think, oh, this is so stupid. Mm-hmm. I feel so dumb. Oh, this is so
you had those
frustrating.
moments where you're like, what have I gotten myself into?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, what did I just do? Like, and then now you've kind of like told people that I'm doing this thing.
Oh.
So now you feel the pressure as well. It's like, running the Comrades, you have to finish.
Yeah.
Because, you can't like, halfway decide, no, I'm done.
Yeah.
And this was a very important project to me. And I wanted to finish it for myself, because I knew that it was going to make me feel so good about and give me confidence that I can, see something through.
Now, do you think that your book challenges stereotypes and preconceptions about politics, about women, about African diplomacy?
Yeah, so for me, I did not want to write a tale on morality as well. I wanted to show like different emotional beats that people go through in life, regardless of what it is that they're trying to achieve. And I just wrote this Mbali's experiences, so to speak, and what the reader takes from it. I think it will also depend on how they also view life. Because, for example, we see in the book when Mbali's having an affair with a much older man, I think it will be simple, for anybody reading to say, oh, she was just trying to get ahead, or he's preying on a younger woman. But then you realize that these are two individuals that at that point in their lives needed to be seen and validated, and they were that for each other. So I did not want to try have like some type of moral judgment on things, or even on like how women are supposed to behave, or what men do, or politicians are to act. It was more on, as a person faced with a certain project or something that you need to do, you go through your own personal, emotional ups and downs.
Sure.
And this, and depending on how you view life and you view everything else, this just how basically you're going to embark on the journey that you're embarking on.
I wish we had more time.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you so much for coming through. So can we expect a sequel, and where can people get the book?
So you can get the book at all major bookstores, like exclusive books. A sequel, people have been asking about that. I'm not too sure. I've got other stories in mind, so we shall see.
All right. All the best, and thank you so much. Okay, so this was Mpho Boshego, the author of Diplomatic Ties.